5 years. 8 if you don't count case files, since Fate Grand Order has collabed with anything other than itself or Fate at large. Finally taking a long-awaited step out of its comfort zone and hitting us with an event I don't think many of us were expecting to see. Mahotsukai no Yoru, Witch on the Holy Night. From the new playable characters to the story itself, all of it is filled with so much love and care. It is such a beautiful thing, not only for the fun it brings in FGO, nor just giving the cast the spotlight once more, but also the interesting look this event gives into the prospects of Mahoyo's future. Set in 2001 Kumano-in, a haunted ryokan in the mountains, and hidden within secret springs said to grant wishes. This humble establishment spawned a singularity, but the question of why and its threat to mankind is unknown. It's here, strung by the thread of fate that brings old friends and acquaintances together. It's been at least 10 years since their graduation, 10 years since they played a big role in each other's lives, and that is all apparent here. While investigating the mysteries of the inn, its heart, just like Mahoyo, is in how it chooses to put focus on these characters' lives and interpersonal connections, never taking away from their grounded, at times animated back and forths that fails to stray even a millimeter from the charm they had prior. The pace of each conversation and the clash of personalities had me locked in and loving every moment. It seems like no matter the time or place, the chemistry of these guys just makes anything funny, or at least enjoyable. From the rivalry between Aoko and Alice to a single offhand comment by Soljiro killing any composure the former had, that charm, the essence of Mahoyo, is all here. In fact, there's actually a whole new charm that can be found because of its setting. Again, it's been at least 10 years or so since the ending of Mahoyo. Deep down, these are the characters we know and love, but it's just the slight way in how they present themselves and act as a group that speaks volumes to how they have changed over the years, both within and towards others, yet still holds that very valuable piece of what makes them them. Within this decade of growth and separation, it is made well apparent how their diverging lives that have all converged in this one moment has molded them from who they once were. Soljiro seems to make more use of his intuition with an open mind in a natural manner. Alice generally isn't as harsh on outsiders as she was prior, and Aoko seems to be much more mature in how she handles her responsibilities and her usual brash way to see it through. And though still possessing an aggressive side, has honed it in a bit. Tobimaru also makes a welcome appearance as a detective on the scene, to give some sense of normalcy in continually bizarre happenings. Kinomi too, with all of his wacky quips, makes for a good time. It is so great to see all these characters again. Their talks, catching up and sharing where they have been, possible aspirations and reflections of the past, of who they once were. It's also comforting in a way. Seeing how they have continued to grow is just, I don't know, nice. That beyond the words dedicated to them, their lives have continued on nevertheless. I do wish that Toko could have been included in some way for the cherry on top, but just getting that beautiful refresher of how real and lovable these guys are, I cannot complain. It really is a taste of Type Moon outside of Grand Order, and not just Mahoyo. Though a tiny part, it gives many nods to the past through small references and cameos to rather interesting lore drops. There is a lot here that makes this event so enticing. How the cast goes about uncovering the mysteries of Kumano ties in characters like Bazette, Karen, Shiki, Fujino, and a few more into well-constructed roles. I cannot tell you how happy I was upon seeing the sprite of a particular father and daughter. Now we just need one more to complete the protagonist collection. My fingers are crossed for next year. And if just seeing these characters once more wasn't enough, one of the biggest talking points, especially for Mahoyo fans, is how it either alludes to or outright shows ideas, events, and abilities clearly meant for the sequels brewing in Nasu's head. I do think this is handled tactfully though, as some what would be spoilers are clearly influenced or shifted slightly by this event's story and timeline to either not spoil them completely, create red herrings, or are vague enough to simply grab onto and speculate about. Which, where we can, makes me just as worried as I am excited. Alice's third ascension Noble Phantasm leans more towards the latter of the three. I do have a thrown together interpretation, just something small, that can possibly draw more on her past and potential character arc, mainly involving the oh so elusive Yumina. But there is one more thing. One piece of this event in particular that, really scares me. Something that is reinforced again and again, not only via Mahoyo's story, but now this event as well. The event feels like it's trying to ease the weight by giving a substitute reason for the spoiler in this particular timeline. Almost like a fake out so it can hit us with one true final strike, and crumble away as the scorch of tears are the only reminder. That the gameplay will bring up again and again, no doubt. Speaking of gameplay, though I think all of us were expecting Aoko to be an amazing playable servant, just how good, fun, and versatile she is surpasses expectations. One of my favorite things about her is how, besides for major boss fights, when you use her NP for the first time, 5 manages to play throughout the entire run. Of course, only briefly interrupted by other NP themes, which is something I've wanted from many other servants, to completely change the OST as if they have taken over the fight. Everything now in the palm of her hands, and with her versatility, support with good heals, skill cooldowns, attack buffs in her magic bullet stacks, extra attack bonuses, defense counters, and being the first ever obtainable servant to have AoE face cards with her buster and extra attack, it certainly feels that way. And yes, that final point was a thing for a certain support in Lost Belt 7, but they have yet to be summonable, so to Aoko it goes. Ever since I got her, I've been running this setup, allowing me to finally be able to farm with some of my favorite Nasuverse characters across 3 different series. It's perfection. It's one I'm going to run for a long time now. Soljuro also has a really unique skill set and an NP I both love and hate. How this seemingly normal person can simply punch through any BS magic put in front of him is oddly fitting, and as a whole, is scarily cryptic. His animations too are so well put together that implement both of Aoko's and Alice's attacks with a few standout hits of his own. Whenever I can, I'm looking for good scenarios to put him to use. Alice I sadly can't speak too much on as I haven't gotten an opportunity to properly level her skills, while also lacking proper quick supports to use her effectively. However, her 70% battery spread across her first and third skill, the latter being coupled with an evade-like skill on a 2-turn cooldown, is insane and something I want to make proper use of in a fight. I also cannot not mention her clean and beautiful attack animations as well, making great use of her various ploys of those we have and have not yet seen. Their servant profiles are also quite the enjoyable read. Yes, there's a lot of the usual stuff about their personality and basic backstory, but a few entries, along with this event story, give some interesting insight into their potential future, and shows that despite all these years they've had to grow, are still the same old witches we know and love. That sense of familiarity, yet also the subtle hints of new, is what's so amazing about this event. While the wait has been a lot shorter for us who joined the train with its 2022 re-release, This really has been the only taste of new fleshed out Mahoyo content in a decade or so, which goes to belie the love and care Nasu and those at Type Moon have for these characters. It's still very, very strong. Love you can feel pouring out from these words, the events that transpire, even from the playable characters, especially them. Both subtle and obvious, so many nods convey the desire to expand this side of the world, the sides of these characters, and at the end of this event is where that can be felt most. I cannot lie. Upon hearing the new rendition of Hoshi ga Matataku Konna Yoru ni, during the event's final fight, tears began to well. The warm and comforting feeling that had been building up throughout is perfectly encapsulated here. I know it's a meme and fair to joke about how Nasu cares about nothing else besides FGO because of its money-making abilities, but this gives me hope, assuring me, more than anything, that the possibility we will get the long-awaited sequels for this beloved work is well in the clear. Maybe not in the next 2 to 3 years, but 5, I am more than willing to bet on. All I can tell is that when it does come around, if this event is any indication, that the wait will be well worth it, filled with the magic of life and the natural consequences we have to overcome. Let the light of this once-in-a-decade shooting star give hope to the next 10 years. And with that, I hope you enjoyed. Thank you very much for watching. Later.